For information about investing in character-led companies, please visit www.rocinvestments.com and join the growing number of investors choosing to make character a priority when investing their money.
Given the context of where we are at today, and police reform obviously is a big topic. George Floyd incident is seared on the national conscious. Could you speak to us a little bit about your thoughts on police reform, how to go about it, the core of some of the challenges that you see, and what are we missing? What isn't being told to us that should be told to us that should be considered in solving this problem from your perspective?
Well, interesting enough, historically, we've created the police we want. When we needed slave patrols, we had slave patrols. When we needed enforcement of Jim Crow laws, and we asked police to enforce Jim Crow laws. When we launched a war on drugs, we asked the police to be the enforcer of the war on drugs. And oftentimes that enforcement has come really through a segregated environment. The police we get in wealthy or suburban communities is protect and serve. The police we get in many of our inner city environment is sort of shock and awe. It's a kind of a conquest mode, an adversarial relationship. And what's happened, I think, over the years, policing has become paramilitary in its approach, and it's in our expectations. And we're discovering that approach, and even the people that we've recruited into policing, do not look at the community as a partner. And interesting, 8 years ago when we did President Obama's task force, and we gave him the report, most of our recommendations focus on what police needed to do. And the report we released last week to the White House Domestic Policy Council focused on a whole of government and a whole of community approach. Community has to be at the table to really express the policing they want and need. In some communities, policing is that we're over-policed. In other communities, we're under-policed. But the culture of policing, because it was pointed out after Tyree Nichols in Memphis, you had a black man who was beat up by 5 black officers. And so as the chairman of the city, or the head of the city council in Memphis pointed out, this is not a black problem, it's not a white problem, it's a culture problem. And it has to deal with the culture of policing. And so what we're focusing on now is looking at how we recruit officers, how we train them, really truly building community policing where the community is at the table. We're looking at alternative and holistic approaches. Not every police call should be responded to by police. Some cases it's a mental health expert. Some cases it's a substance use expert. It will vary. But this is going to be a long struggle to really change it. There are 18,000 law enforcement agencies and over 800,000 law enforcement officers. And most of them, 99% of them do it right. But there's that 1% that will get attention. But it also goes to expectations and also leadership. I mean, it's a command and control structure, paramilitary in focus, where local law enforcement, and the biggest complaint of local law enforcement is that they're not given the permission to really make their own decisions or their own choices. And oftentimes they're situational. On average, a line officer is given 700 different tasks they have to master in order to do their job. And there's very little flexibility, and everything becomes then a violation of policy. And so giving law enforcement more creativity and opportunity. So it's since Ferguson, Missouri, where President Obama launched his task force out of that experience, there have been over 133 task forces, working groups, councils that have tried to address police reform, but we're still shooting people of color. And so it's going to require this cultural shift, and we need mayors, county execs, we need them involved in the discussions on police reform, not just the police, in order to really achieve good outcomes.